It frosted last night, which means, among other things, that I am finally ready to dig my peanuts. So yes, peanuts are full season. We plant them same time we would plant our bush beans and our tomatoes, when the soil is nice and warm after the last frost. And then they're there all season making peanuts, ideally, until last frost, at which point the plant is thoroughly dead and the ground is thoroughly cold, and you don't have to dig them the very next day, but within that first week, and the sooner is the better. They will very easily rot once the plant is dead and the soil is just going to stay cold and wet, which is a perfect recipe for all kinds of rotting and molding. So you can see I dug this one plant, and holy moly, there's a ton of peanuts in there. You can see it's been raining quite a bit, so the soil is cold and it's really wet. It's very cloddy, but there's a ton of peanuts on here. And it's great to see too, the flower farther and farther up the stem. Some of the peduncles haven't made it anywhere near the soil, but the ones that did, I am so excited to eat them. So when I go in and I dig them up, I'm sure to give them a wide berth. Because you can see, here's the main stalk, but there's this other stalk that's down here, this other stalk. So there's probably an 8-inch, 10-inch radius around that base of the central stem that I'm going to be loosening the soil around. So I go in with my fork, and it's really easy sometimes, especially if your fork isn't pretty much straight like this one. Often they're curved at the bottom. So you want to be sure not to go in at an angle from like this, which could potentially knock peanuts like this, but go down straight down so you can go down and then lift from there. And I go in a little at a time, ease it in, and then ease them up. And friends, you've let your peanuts grow for how long? Don't rush this step. It's totally the most exciting step. I couldn't agree more, but it's really important to not rush through it, because leaving those peanuts in the ground, breaking them off, is much harder than if they're all still very much connected to the plant. So my goal is to be lifting up a bunch of soil with all those roots intact, so that all of the peanuts are also intact. Whew! And there's quite a clod on this one. So let's see what happens. I'm gonna pick up all of those stems so they all can have their strength being lifted together. And it's close. I'm still pulling. There's a little bit of tension. I might have done well to have continued to dig around it. But you can see I am just loosening the soil. Whew, it's so cloddy. I hope your soil isn't nearly as moist as mine is when you're harvesting them. And yeah, so there is a ton. There's the biotella as it's biodegrading around it. And yeah, there are a ton of peanuts on there, and a bunch more within this soil. So as I'm here in the garden, I'm going to be simply shaking off as much of this as I can, because soil takes a long time to build. It's a lifetime to build amazing soil. So I want to keep it all in the garden as best I can. But next I'm going to bring them inside and I'm going to cure them. So that is coming right up.